Vanny is a major antagonist in Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, so the fact that she's completely missing in the Ruin DLC is mind-blowing. Or is she? Especially with people believing the mask we pick up in Ruin is actually Vanny's. But in this video, we'll uncover the truth of what actually happened to Vanny. Is she really Vannessa? And the true secret and part in Ruin.
Are you having fun yet?
Brace yourselves, because you're not going to want to miss any of this video. Now, what actually happens to Vannessa/Vanny at the end of Security Breach can be quite confusing, because there are 3 endings in total, which feature what could potentially happen to her. Now, let's go over the most obvious one first, and one many people believe to be the canon ending for Vanny, and that's the Princess Quest. We essentially beat all 3 minigame/arcade machines, and essentially free Vannessa from Glitch Club's control, and thus Vanny is no more. Hence why we see her drop the mask at the end of this comic cutscene. Now, that then seems to follow on into Ruin, where Cassie comes across a mask which seemingly looks identical to Vanny's. People then put 2 and 2 together and believe that this is actually Vanny's mask. However, there is evidence to totally disprove this, and I will tell you all that later on. Let's continue with the other endings. One of the other endings is the fact that Vanny is pushed off the roof with Freddy, and then you see them lying both on the floor. Gregory then takes off the mask of Vanny and seemingly shows Vannessa. The credits roll, and then at the end of the credits, we actually see Vannessa looking down, seemingly at the bodies of Freddy and Vanny, whilst the Pizzaplex is burning to the ground. So this is actually showing us that the person who was in the Vanny suit wasn't Vannessa, although they look very similar. Now, this is extremely interesting because it's basically saying that Vannessa has a twin, and there is some substance to that, believe it or not, in the lore, and potentially the direction Steelwool would have originally taken, if not, if they haven't already. Now, first off, this doesn't actually mean all that much. Vannessa and Vanny have 2 different voice actors. Why would they seemingly have 2 different voice actors if they weren't 2 different people?
You totally blew it tonight, you know. Your system crashed and you ruined the show.
Disassemble Freddy.
Now, obviously, this confirms nothing in itself, that's purely speculation. Now, in the game Fury's Rage, there are 2 main enemies, and these 2 main enemies are twins. And what is extremely interesting about these is that they both have VR-looking headsets attached to them. Now, that could have been foreshadowing for Vannessa and the Vanny twin, or it could be to be revealed in the future in another DLC or game. Nonetheless, the twin theory definitely matches up with the ending we've seen from the rooftop, although I don't think this is the right one. So let me continue with the other ending. Now, the other ending we see for Vanny in Security Breach is the fact that she's ripped apart by a group of staff bots, seemingly destroying her, and she will be no more. Now, obviously, this could play into Ruin, because if they did destroy her mask could be on the floor and it could be picked up by a staff bot. Although, if they did destroy her like we see in the comic, surely that mask would be completely unusable and destroyed. So again, although this ending is there, I don't believe it to be the correct route for Vanny. So if you're like me, you might now be thinking, well, one of them has to be canon, right? Right? Well, not really, because we do have the Burn Trap ending, and she is not featured in that at all. And let's not forget, why do we have to just pick one? It could be a combination of them all, and there is evidence to suggest in Ruin that that is potentially the case. So first off, let's talk about the Burn Trap ending.
I will take back what is mine.
Burn Trap ending is where you go down to the old pizza place, fight off what is a ruined William Afton or Mimic, and if you want to know all about what that is, I'd highly recommend checking this video out, and seemingly Freddy and Gregory escape as the Pizzaplex is crumbling from a giant earthquake. Now, we do know in Ruin that an earthquake actually happened, because in the paper cutouts you can see that the Pizzaplex was destroyed by an earthquake, hence basically telling us that the Burn Trap ending did happen. But then on the other hand, we have a Vanny Mask being picked up by Cassie, but let's note that this mask is being handed to Cassie by a staff bot. She doesn't just pick it up from the floor, it's actually been given to a staff bot to give to her, which is rather odd in itself, but that's something I'll talk about later. So that mask there could in essence be telling us that Vannessa did break free from Glitch Trap's control and drop her mask, but I don't believe this to be the case, so let me continue to explain. First off, for that mask to actually be Vanny/Vannessa's, we'd be assuming that the Princess Quest actually happened and that she was free from Glitch Trap's control, and again, I don't believe this to be the case, so let me tell you why. Because I believe Cassidy actually lost in the Princess Quest ending and didn't beat Glitch Trap. Now, you might be thinking, oh, well, we see the Princess Quest machine on its side impaled with a sword. Yes, we do, but it is not destroyed, and in the real world, there's actually a lamp placed on top of it. Now, the only time we really see this lamp is when it's on the floor in the game over state in Princess Quest. So the fact we see it in the real world placed on top of this machine could signify it's game over. And the fact that these purple lines are coming out of the machine in the AR world signify that it's actually escaping into the real world, not being contained. Because something similar happens to the Balloon Boy world machine machine where we complete that game and the evil Eclipse then gets loose on the real world. This then makes sense because if the Princess Quest ending was never beaten, then Vanny would never be free of Glitch Trap's control. And again, there's evidence to suggest this because again, in the Princess Quest ending room, we see a Glitch Trap emblem / icon on the wall, signifying it's escaped. We also see various Vanny graffiti throughout the Pizzaplex. This could have only have happened after the Pizzaplex was destroyed, and who else is going to be doing their own graffiti of their own name? Vanny. We also see then nasty bunny drawings of Vanny throughout the ruined Pizzaplex, again signifying that Vanny is still around after the Pizzaplex has fallen to ruin. Now, whichever way you look at that segment, there is evidence in ruin to show that Vanny is still around. So regardless of what ending you may or may not have in Security Breach, we still come back and have Vanny appear in Security Breach based on the fact that she is the one who drew and made all this graffiti. But you might be thinking, well, as Cassie, we actually pick up Vanny's mask, so how does that work if Vanny's still around? Well, there's a simple explanation. It is not Vanny's mask. And how do I know this? Well, there are multiple Vanny masks for multiple Fazbear technicians, just like a Fazbear wrench. But then that leaves the question, why would there be a Vanny mask just seemingly given to a staff bot to give to Cassie? Again, this could all be part of Vanny's plan. She would want another one of her running round. And these masks inject a neural interface into your brain, which makes you see things which are not there in the real world. Helper even says in the game that long-term exposure to the mask would result in severe health problems later on. So if she could make another mini Vanny, a little helper to help her around the Pizzaplex, she could help continue working towards her goals, which at this stage could be unknown and totally different to the Mimics, because we still have the question what's happened to Burn Trap and his ending, because many people absolutely adored Vanny and was extremely disappointed with her lack of screen time in Security Breach, although she was planned to have a much more massive, impactful role. I mean, they even had a fully fleshed out mechanic written, ready, completed in the game called the Vanny Meter. Now, if you don't know about the Vanny Meter, it's basically another mechanic which is going to be in the game and is actually in the game, just unused. You would have a meter / bar on screen, and when this bar / meter would fill to its top, Vannessa would then seemingly transform into Vanny, where she would hunt the player down. This had animations, jump scares, and everything else which was needed to be put into the game. They just removed it for some reason. So the fact that they had a massive plan for Vanny and seemingly did nothing with her in Security Breach is awfully suspicious in itself. And the fact that there's no real canon ending apart from the one I've just told you now lines up perfectly for what Steelwall could do in the future. Regardless of whether you believe the princess ending to be the canon version or not, or even any of the other endings, the proof in Ruin itself shows that Vanny is still around, or someone is drawing Vanny graffiti for no apparent reason at all. So in my eyes, this graffiti signifies she is still there in the ruined Pizzaplex. She's not free of Glitch Trap's control because he won the Princess Quest ending. As I explained earlier, it all starts to fit and make perfect sense. All this then fits perfectly like a puzzle piece into all the other theories I have, so I highly recommend checking them out. But alas, that's all we have time for today, and that is my interpretation of what happened to her. What do you think? Does it align with yours? Have you got a different take on it? That's what's great about the FNAF community. We can combine all our theories and come up with our own based on the lore. So by all means, tell me yours in the comments below and I will respond. I'm Twisty, the Twisted Animatronic, and stay safe out there, superstars.